So if you read the email from Daniel Sheraton, an MCDOT's response to our questions, he referred to old plans that were 74-8-8818. And so these are those plans. And I wanted to kind of give my rundown on them and why I think they're so important. So these plans were never enacted, but it appears that perhaps the planning department and perhaps some engineers that are building upstream for us were using these as a baseline for the approvals. At least that's how I'm reading it, which makes complete sense because we say we're flooding, we're flooding, we're flooding, we're flooding, and they say you have the capacity, you have the capacity, you have the capacity. But I wanted to share what these plans are. Like I said, they're at least 40 years old, probably closer to 50, and I'll show you where I'm going to start. So here is the elder apartments that are in the process of being built. Here is Knowles Station, the townhouses, which they broke ground on not too long ago, and the 100 unit apartments that were approved to be put in, but they haven't broken ground at all. So that's where I'll start on the maps, and I'll try to make this as seamless as possible, but I'm not the best at explaining this stuff. So here's Knowles, that was further down from where I just spoke to. If you look further down here, you'll see that this is where Brainerd is. So this is approximately where Red Ginger is, the Chinese restaurant. And oops, sorry. And this is where Knowles Station was built. So once again, these plans are at least from 1979. So that's what I'll give them the benefit from. So I'll just say at least 40 years old. And they were plans that were drawn up but never done. So it might give us a better idea of why we're flooding so much. So I'll start at the top. So here's where Knowles Station is, right here. Over 40 years ago, they were planning on putting an 18-inch pipe running up. That was never put in. Kind of makes sense that if these plans were used as a baseline, that they thought that was here, because Knowles Station has water that runs all down the sidewalk and everything when it rains. So it's kind of really dangerous. So it'd be really nice if that 18-inch pipe was there. Over here, this is Stroh-Snyder's right about up here. And they were at one time going to block this 15-inch line that runs across, but it still exists. If you remember, the elder apartments tie into this line. And it keeps going down Dietrich and then makes its way up Mitchell, or what is now called Kaiser, which is right here. So this section was never done. It'd be great if it was, because then we wouldn't have all those issues up there. It was going to cross over and become a 21-inch pipe. As it stands to date, we have a 15-inch pipe, and then running across, it's an 18-inch pipe. It's not a 24 as it says. So if you take a look at these plans yourself, you can see, and it's pretty accurate from everything I've looked into. Where it says EX, that's existing. So if you see EX 15-inch, that's existing 15-inch. It's still existing 40 years later now. But that'll give you an idea as you run through these plans of what we have versus what was planned for back in the day. And you can see it says existing 18 RCP right here. It was going to be upsized to a 24, never was. And I'll roll back up to Summit. Running across right here. So here's where the townhomes are being built. they had plans to upsize this pipe to a 24-inch RCP, and that's what it said for a long time in StormNet, but in reality, it's an 18, and that's consistent with the maps that Daniel and Matt sent out, that it's going to be upsized. At one time, this was going to be closed. This right here is right here. So we had this drain inlet opened up about a year ago, a bit more. And so that's where we're talking about now. And there's a 27-inch line that runs here, 15-inch line that runs across, and then it downsizes. I'm going to call it downsizing, even if it's not the right terminology, to a 24. So we have a 27 or a 15 downsizing into a 24. Back in the day, it looks like they were going to upsize that to 24. We still have a 21 running across. They did not close this off. None of this was done. So we still have a 21 running across, a 24, and then a 27, and then steps down to a 24 with the addition of a 15. So that's a good reason why we have a river coming down. And let me see if I can find a Brainerd. I apologize for the delay. Okay, so here is a Brainerd. So right here is where Kaiser is. These plans from over 40 years ago had the addition of this line right here, this line right here, all of this to here. We do not have any of this. It'd be nice if it was. This is about where Red Ginger is. And instead, we have it crossing. You can see the existing. This is actually not the correct size. They upsize this to roughly about a 24 by 24. There's some math involved there. So you got a 24 and a 24 running into a 15. So this is overflowing. But the maps in MCDOT are the StormNet side are much better than these, because they've done these within the last 40 years, but not much, nothing else. So once again, 24-inch downsizing into a 15. This was going to be, it looks like a 24-inch pipe back in the 70s, but it was never done. So once again, this whole section was never done. Instead, we've got a lot of water that pours down here and runs up Knowles. So getting to, this is Knowles and this is Summit, Kaiser, running towards my house, excuse me. You can see it says existing 18-inch RCP. That is what we have. It was planned to be a 30-inch RCP, but that wasn't never done. To give you an idea of, so this is Knowles and Summit, to give you an idea of back in the day, what that would look like. The 30-inch RCP that was going to be all the way up here is actually the pipe that runs down Warner. So all of the pipes that run this way, run this way, run this way, meet in my backyard, flow down a 33-inch into, I'm going to call it downsize, into a 30-inch pipe, is what they were planning on putting just one line right here. And remember, all of this was going to be separate. So you could see, to me, that shows exactly how inadequate our system is. If they were going to build a pipe, 45 years ago, that was 30 inches just to take care of this whole area. Instead, we have it here taking care of this whole area. I don't know how they can't say that our system isn't inadequate. But I'm going to keep on keeping on, and we'll run down Knowles. So here's Knowles. So this is the 30-inch pipe, or what was going to be. Instead, we have an 18. And then it's going to upsize as it hits a 15-inch pipe that runs across the street. This doesn't exist. Be nice if it was, because then we wouldn't have all the cars coming through here splashing water on everybody on the sidewalk. This is where my house is. Pay no attention to the trees. I really wish I had an apple tree. Evidently, 45 years ago, I did. This is going to be a 33. As it stands, we have a 21. This is a 24 right now, and it was going to be a 36. Where it meets this 24-inch line. Now, keep in mind, this is where the 27, the 15 downsizes into a 24 and runs across into the drain column that overflows in my backyard. So we have, right now we have a 24 going into a 33. 40 years ago, they were planning on making this 36. I guess the 24 was going to stay in place going into a 42, and then adding a 15 and going down Warner. As it stands right now, we have a 30-inch pipe there. That's what I was speaking to before. So all of that water is running through a 30-inch pipe. I could only imagine what size that would be if we could find plans that were to be enacted back in the day. But it certainly would be more than 42. You know, with the addition of the 15, it'd probably be a 46 or so. But to give you an idea of 40 years ago, they were going to have that a 42-inch pipe. A 42-inch pipe is today what we have at the very end. So this pipe all the way up here was supposed to be 42, and to this day we only have a 42 at the end. And keep in mind, that's the addition of all this extra stormwater. So I can imagine they probably back in the day going to make this a 58 or a 56 or even a 60. But it makes sense to a lot of what are flooding issues if what the builders and permitting is looking at is not the correct numbers, and they're not, because it's been such a challenge just to get the accurate numbers in the DOT or in the storm net system. It's no fault of theirs. They rely on contractors, as you read, and they've got a whole county. We're just a little sliver. But yeah, I mean, it gives a good idea. So I'll shoot these plans out with the email, and you guys can judge for yourself. Just keep in mind, where you see anything that looks like a candy cane, a lot of it's not built yet. And what is built, or what has something in place, is actually the existing number, because it was never upsized back in the 70s.